All right, welcome to Atlas Talks, a podcast where I talk about random things. And today we're talking with Unsurpassable Z. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I am Unsurpassable Z. My real name is Zach Hartman, and for the last year and a half, I've been streaming on Twitch and making YouTube videos.
All right, let's just dive straight into the questions. A lot of these help. A lot of these questions came with help from Alchemy, so it's pretty cool.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. First question: what made you want to start streaming slash creating entertaining content for people?
So I started making videos when I was like 15, like in 2014, something like that. I was actually a little younger even at that point. I started making videos just because it was fun for me. I learned how to video edit. I always watched other people like that were Halo players. They would post videos, and I always loved that. And it was just kind of always something that I wanted to do. And so I did that for a few years for fun, and sort of fell out of it for a little bit. And then in the beginning of quarantine, I had a lot of time on my hands, and I started watching a guy named Ludwig, who is now one of the biggest Twitch streamers. And was watching what he was doing, and I thought it was fun. And I just looked at him and I was like, you know what? I think I could do that. And so I decided that I was going to give it one more shot as as an attempt to be able to do this full time. And started going in April of 2020, and it is now October of 2021, and we're still doing it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. You were actually the person who influenced me to start making my own podcast series, so I gotta
Oh,
thank you for that.
awesome, man. Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Who would you say your hero slash role model is?
Oh man, like specifically when it comes to like streaming on YouTube or just like in life.
Just in general.
All right. Just in general, I think any out of all people, I look up most to my dad. I think I'm very similar to him in a lot of ways, and he taught me a lot about just sort of the way that I see the world.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah.
All right, here's a pretty funny question. When you got Winston, did you expect your fan base to go nuts over him, or was it a complete accident?
I thought they would like him, but I that was actually like Winston was a gift. Like I am a youth director outside of streaming and outside of my full-time job, and the flamingo theme and my love of flamingos as just like a fun thing started well before I was streaming. And so with this group of people, they had already known for, 2 or 3 years that flamingos were sort of my thing. And so they just actually got that for me as a gift. It was from like Cracker Barrel or something, and so they gave it to me. I was like, "Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll put that in the background of my stream. They'll probably think that's fun." And I didn't think that you guys would like it as much as you do, but it is he's a fun little mascot.
Yeah, I'd say Winston has become a pretty big icon of your channel.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. How did your parents affect your streaming career? Were they so helpful, supportive?
Yeah, I had very, very supportive parents. I still do. I don't know why I said had. Like, yeah, my family has always been really supportive of just anything that I want to do. And they've always just taught me, the way to make decisions in a smart way and just to do whatever makes me happy as long as I'm doing it in a way that, is smart. So I used to play Halo competitively when I was younger, and they were supportive of me then. They're supportive of me now. They're fans of the stream too. Like they watch almost every stream anyway. So it's thankfully, I have parents that are more sort of in tune to this style of creating content and understand that it's a legitimate thing. So I've always said that I'm very lucky to have the parents that I am, and honestly, I think probably out of everyone, my mom supports me more than any other person at all. So yeah, it's been really great with them.
Yeah. Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Will you still be making content for people?
10 years. So I don't know. I mean, I have never been someone to plan that far in the future just because I think so much is subject to change in life just in general, and so much, is so much you can't predict. So I have like big ideas of sort of where I want to take my future. But normally I am more of just like a kind of go with the flow sort of guy. So if 10 years from now, if making videos is still the right thing for me to be doing, then I will absolutely be doing this. If it's time to move on to a bigger project, then I would love to do that. If it's time to spend with my family, I'd love to do that. I think with time I'll be able to tell. Yeah, 10 years is a pretty far out way for me. At that point, I'll be like 32. I'm not sure at this point, but I have always, I mean, it's now been like 8 years of me making videos, and I'm still enjoying it. So I think, regardless, even if I'm not trying to, be a full-time YouTuber at that point in my life, I think I'll always be someone that likes to make videos just because I really like that medium as a means of sharing with other people.
Yeah, YouTube is a pretty good medium for sharing stuff that you like with other people and also
Mhm.
finding lots of really interesting content.
Mhm. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel about your community? Is it good, bad, neutral?
Oh, they're the worst. No, I'm joking. They they are
Wow, you gotta
fantastic,
do them like
obviously.
that,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, right? No, they're fantastic, obviously. I was fully prepared to just, receive all sorts of hate and all sorts of, like, people just, saying mean things, and I've really not received much of that, if any, in my entire time creating things. I think it's mostly because a lot of my content is focused on Stardew Valley, and that's a community of people that just are very kind in general. And so that has sort of been reflected in, we do a community farm for a month, and where all it takes is one person to run around and destroy everyone's progress. Like that doesn't happen, like it's,
Yeah.
we have really, really cool people. I think a lot of that actually branched from like the earlier days of streaming where when I was only streaming to, 10, 20, 30 people, like I really tried to cultivate this sense of community and encouraging the people that watch me to help welcome in new people and to sort of set like, hey, this is, what our group is like. This is who we are. And I see that happening in the future too. I mean, I look at Lil Simsy as someone that she has a fantastic community where even in the 3 to 4,000 viewer range, like it's still just all super positive people. So I know that it's not like, oh, it's just because, of the size that you are that won't last forever. Like I think if you build it from the ground up and you try to build that community in a way that's, a very positive place to be, um, yeah, I think that it will just carry on. So I have a fantastic community. They're just the best. Honestly, I love talking to them. I wish I could talk to them more. I just don't have a ton of time, unfortunately, when I'm making stuff for them.
Yeah. Yeah, the Stardew Valley community is pretty nice as a whole. How does streaming affect your lifestyle?
It is my lifestyle at this point right now. So I when I was in school, it was probably less of like a percentage of my time that I would spend on it was streaming. Nowadays, I work a full-time job, and so I come home and I pretty much this is like all I'm doing. It's more of a short term, like this is all I'm doing with every available minute. That's like a 1 year goal where I was like, I really want to try to, sort of kickstart this in this first year outside of college. So um yeah, I have pretty much my stream and I have M, and I try to balance both of those things pretty much as far as like my free time goes. And thankfully, I've been able to incorporate her a lot into the streaming experience because if I mean she's my higher like she's a higher priority than streaming is for me. But it's thankfully she's well ingrained into it and very supportive of me as well, and so I'm able to do both of those things.
Yeah. If COVID hadn't had happened, would you be making content now?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I started watching Ludwig before we got sent home for coronavirus. I think I don't even actually remember. I at least heard of him before then. Um, and I think that gave me a bunch of free time where I was just playing games with M. And I honestly, when I first started, my mentality was I'm gonna go live, and then if anyone wants to watch, they can. And then over time, as I started doing it more, I was like started having it's taking more pride in like putting out stuff that people will actually really want to watch and will get a lot of value out of. Um, but in the beginning, it was just because I was playing so many video games, and honestly, I mean, I might not have been playing as many games if it wasn't for that. So I don't know. It's tough to say. I think that it could have been a possibility, but I really have no way of knowing at this point. So I'm happy that it worked out that way. COVID, thankfully for me, it never affected me in a bad way. Really, I mean, it was like annoying, but outside of that, it wasn't that bad. I was in a pretty good position. So um, yeah, I
Yeah.
think if it hadn't have happened, I might not be in this spot, but I think I'd be doing something else that I enjoy too. I don't think that there's really like one necessary path that you have to take in life. I think that you just sort of set yourself up for good opportunities to come your way, and then when they arrive, you just sort of jump at the one that's most exciting for you.
Yeah, during the first few weeks of lockdown, I played a lot of Star Wars Battlefront 2 on the PS4 with my
Oh,
friends
yeah.
during school.
The
Yeah, it
original
was a
one
lot
or,
of
like, the remake?
the remake. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
the or yeah, I love the original one, but at that time, my computer was still a MacBook, so it couldn't actually, like, run the game.
Yeah.
It was pretty sad. Yeah, but I
That's
just
fine. I played a
recently
lot of
got
the
a new
original one
computer.
too, yeah.
Yeah. What made you wanna do family-friendly content?
Yeah, so that I guess, that was never super duper important to me. That's like these days probably more of like a business decision actually. It's not really difficult for me to keep things family friendly. Like it's not like I have an issue with, not swearing or anything. So that was, something that it was like, well, if it's no different to me, and generally I've found that keeping my stuff family friendly has led to attracting a more positive community and more positive people to our
Yeah.
viewers, like to our viewer base. And so it was kind of a combination of like, well, it's not that much harder for me. I think it would attract like just generally better people, if anything. Not like if you aren't family friendly, you're not a good person, but it was just, like just kind of keeping with that positive attitude. So I kind of had always just pictured like, well, what is considered family friendly in my book? It's like, would I say this in front of my youth group? And it's, it's like, I mean, that's just, yeah, we have a good time there, and it's like you can joke around and stuff. It's just keeping it in a positive light. So that's kind of how I did it. It was more of like a gradual thing that eventually ended up becoming, just one of the, I guess, things that defines some of my content.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like family-friendly content gets a lot farther on YouTube
Mm.
because a lot more people will see it. But I don't know, maybe that's just me.
Yeah,
Has
yeah,
stream
I think it's
Yeah,
easier to share with more people then too, at least.
yeah. Has streaming affected your relationships with anyone?
With anyone? Um, I'm very proud in that I can say, like, at least during my time in college, I never let streaming get in the way of my friendships or, like, the way that I spent my time. It was just a lot of prioritizing things well, and I spend time where I hang out with people, but I don't really spend any time, like, just hanging out by myself, right? Like, I used to spend a lot of time just, like, watching videos by myself or, like, being on TikTok or whatever, but I've decided to sacrifice that time where I'm by myself, not doing productive things, so that I can stream and still balance, hanging out with other people. So, um, thankfully, it hasn't affected my relationships in that way, where I'm not able to do as many things. But it is really cool. Like out of my friends from real life, there's a lot of them that are interested in my journey. And even when I, didn't have as many viewers, there's a million people that stream to like 5 people, but even when I was at that
Yeah.
stage, I had friends that were very, supportive of that, and they thought it was a cool thing, and they thought that I should go for it. And for the most part, everyone really, helped me out and and gave me some kind words. So it's now something that as it's grown into something of like a smaller to medium size, I'm actually able to talk to my friends with, and it's like they think it's so cool that I can reach so many people and can have such an awesome fan base that yeah, it's something that I'm excited to just keep carrying forward in the future. These days, I really just hang out with M, and sometimes I get to talk to my friends. But I've always kind of been someone that likes to spend time in the moment, like whoever I'm with and whatever I'm doing. Like I like to give my full attention to that, and so a lot of the time that just ends up being streaming because that's what I'm working on. But yeah, I still make time for friends too. Like I just had some friends stay here this weekend. It was great to catch up with them too.
Yeah. What would you say your happiest memory from streaming is?
Oh man. I think so like I just want to make it very obvious. Like M is the most important part of my life. And so I think that anything having to do with her always has like more of a special place in my heart. So I have like when M and I were streaming one time earlier, Stardew Valley, it was like on our perfection farm in year 2. I always share it's such a stupid moment, but like I went up to go to the bathroom and I left. I wasn't even there for my favorite part of the stream. How about that? I went up to the bathroom and I left, and M was getting ready to go into bed, and she used to play Stardew on a trackpad, and so she went to harvest a corn, and she accidentally pickaxed it and killed it, and she goes, "Oh my god, I just killed a corn. Don't tell him." And I had one viewer at the time. It was just my friend Bryce from real life. She was like, "Don't tell Zach I killed the corn." I come back from the bathroom and I see in the chat just B Spice telling me M killed a corn, all caps, ratting her out. and I thought it was so funny. She was, like, so guilty, like, "No, Bryce, you caught me," and so, like, I think just that, like, really early stages of streaming where it's like it was at a point where I had no traction, but I really believed in myself and what I was doing, and that I believed that when I did get better at it, it would be something that, would be able to turn into a full-time profession that a lot of people would like to see. That's got a fond place in my memory. I also really like I've got 2 others also, like, another couple of people that are really important in my life are my parents, and so I did one Stardew Valley Deal or No Deal with my mom in August of 2020, and that was super awesome to me that, like, she got all prepped and excited, and she got to be a part of that. And actually, a video that I'm putting out in 2 days from now is our, recreation of Stardew Valley in Minecraft, and I just
Oh,
had my dad come to my apartment in Maryland, and we filmed that breakdown, and he was a huge part of that creation. So I think, having, those videos with my parents was also really fun for me. And then, of
yeah,
course, streaming to
oh, my
6,000
bad.
people is pretty cool too. Now that's
Yeah,
in the Stardew Cup, but yeah.
yeah, streaming to 6,000 people definitely takes a lot of courage. I don't think I'd be able to do it because if you, like, accidentally say something wrong at 6,000 people,
So
yeah.
that actually, like, once I got to, like, the 100 viewer mark, the numbers didn't mean anything else to me anymore. Like, I've never been someone who's nervous to speak publicly. I only ever get nervous these days for technical issues. Like, I was nervous yesterday for my first ever YouTube live stream because I was like, dude, there's so much that could go wrong here. And if something goes wrong in a way that I can't, do the thing that I was planning on, like, that makes me nervous.
Yeah,
And, the Stardew Valley Cup, where it's just like I've got 16 different points of view to keep track of, and there's no real way to, like, practice that ahead of time. And so that, like, made me nervous because I was like, dude, what if, like, technically I can't figure something out? What if stuff starts to lag? Like, what can I do there? But yeah, talking in front of people, it's like, once I'm into it, like, I was hanging out with Eric yesterday on stream, like, that doesn't make me nervous at all. Talking to him, had like 500 viewers at that point. I think once you get past a certain point, it isn't as difficult.
yeah, technical issues are pretty nerve-wracking. I remember the day that we started the community farm and my computer wasn't booting up as fast as it normally
uh,
did. I was just, like, I was so nervous, I was like, "Oh my god, my computer isn't gonna go fast enough, and then I'm gonna look like an idiot." Yeah, but everything
well,
ended up
that went
okay.
really well. That was a
Yeah,
ton of fun, and I mean, we've done another one since then, and we're starting another one now. So that's a great
yeah,
project.
yeah, I do think the community farm was pretty awesome. How did you meet Concerned Ape? Did it take courage to reach out to him?
I think that it didn't take any courage to reach out. I think it took some courage after he said yes, and then I had to, like, actually, set stuff up with him. That was a little nerve-wracking. So that came from, the reason I reached out to him in the first place was from a book called Getting Everything You Can Out of All That You've Got. And I was reading that, and it was talking about, like, trying to identify breakthrough opportunities in your field. Like, what are the most overlooked opportunities? Like, what is something that you could do where it would just be, like, absolutely huge, like a phenomenal success, rather than looking for, like, smaller, more consistent successes? Like, what are those big things, right? So I
Yeah,
wrote down, like, a whole bunch of things, and one of them I realized, like, well, one thing that people are sleeping on in the startup community is that, like, this game was made by one person, and if there was ever someone who would be willing to sit down and stream with me as far as game developers go, like, it would be Concerned Ape, right? Like, he's the nicest guy. It's like, it's literally just a matter, I feel like, of getting my message seen. And so I sent him an
yeah,
email, and I thought before I sent the email, I was like, the way that this is just, I guess, some general advice for anyone who's trying to reach out to anyone. Um, I really tried not to think about, like, what can Concerned Ape do for me, but it's like, what could I do for him, right? And that's kind of
yeah,
tough to answer for someone that's as successful as him. But I recognized, I was like, I'm in a position where at this point I'm one of the bigger Stardew Valley YouTubers. I have a really good connection with the people that care a lot about his game. And so I kind of approached that email from the perspective of, like, hey, Eric, my name's Zach. I have a YouTube channel. I would like to be a bridge between you and your community, right? And offering him a chance to connect with the people that he cares the most about, right? So he's got a ton of talents, and he's got a bunch of stuff going for him, but it's like that, connection with his community. He had some, but it was like through Twitter or through, like, forum posts or anything. I was like, I want to take you, like, into the live experience, give people a chance to, like, meet you a little bit more and get some behind the scenes of, like, who you are as a person. And so I emailed him. He emailed me back at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I called my mom, and she was awake. And I called her. I was so excited. I talked to her. I was like, "Yeah, so the guy who made Stardew is going to be on my stream," and that was a huge, huge thing for me. I planned a lot for that stream just to make sure I always had something to say. And he's a really easy guy to talk to. So that was once we got all that set up and once I had some ideas in place, it was really easy to run with.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what the first, stream you did with Concerned Ape was. What was that?
So that was
I know.
on June 10th. We did touring his farm, his perfection farm, and we did a mine speed run, and we did the first version of the maze. And so I
Oh,
actually sent
yeah.
him like 15 ideas or something like that, and then he picked his favorite three.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing I remember the YouTube title, I didn't watch the video, but making Concerned Ape speedrun his own game. I thought that was
Yeah.
pretty funny. Yeah. When you were in
Yeah,
college.
that yeah,
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
my bad. Yeah, when you were in college, how was streaming with a roommate? Was it stressful, easy?
So, I had 2 roommates when I started streaming. I streamed for 5 months at home, and then I moved into college, and I told them ahead of time they had already agreed to be roommates with me before I started streaming. And
Okay.
so I told them, I was like, "Hey, I've been doing this thing for a few months, like, I don't think it takes up a huge amount of, like, I don't think it's a huge hindrance, to the room experience." I dipped my stream schedule back to just 2 days a week. I was like, "All I need is, like, Monday nights from 7:30 to 10:30 and Thursday nights from 7:30 to 10:30 is that I can stream, and you can even be in the room if you want to. I don't even care. I just want to see if you're okay with that." And thankfully, they were both okay with it. It was a little difficult and it was a little annoying, I know, to them sometimes, but I really appreciate the grace that they gave me, and I'm glad that it really paid off too because I caught my break in December. So like I streamed for a full semester at school before I even, had any sort of viewership or anything that was like even worth it. So it's a lot easier for a roommate to be like, "Oh, you have 30,000 subscribers and you make a lot of money every month like doing this and you have like a whole operation, like that's legit." But when I'm like streaming to, an average of like 12 viewers, I don't have any sort of traction on YouTube or anything, like it can definitely I think it could get more annoying for them. But thankfully they were both very understanding. Me keeping to that consistent schedule helped a lot too because it never caught them off guard. Like they always knew exactly what to expect out of me. And I also just tried really hard to be a great roommate in every other way. I was like, I know that what I do with streaming is probably annoying. And so I'm never going to leave any dishes in the sink. I will do my fair share of chores. I will clean the bathroom whenever we need to, that sort of thing. So,
Huh. Yeah.
um, you can ask them how well I actually did in that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I I can't I think his name was Ryan, I wanna say Ryan?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
your
right.
community would go nuts every time that they saw Ryan in the background of your streams. I thought
Yeah,
that was
that
pretty
was
funny.
that was because Ryan always tried to, like, not be in the background of the streams. He was embarrassed to be on camera, so they loved it, of course. It was like, if he would've just been like, "Hi, guys," was like, no one would've cared, but the fact that he tried to actively avoid all of their love, just made them wanna throw it more in his direction.
Yeah, definitely. This question came directly from Comcast. Your growth in the Stardew community has been exponential. What are the factors you think best aided your growth?
Um, so I think and this is something that, like, I've really tried focusing on is just as in general, like I've tried to get good at a few things in life, right? And the commonality in getting good at anything is like look at people who are good and then just figure out what they're doing, right? And try to figure out like what specifically are the commonalities among them. Like what do successful people typically look like in the field that you're trying to replicate, right? And
Yeah.
so I just drew a lot of inspiration from other YouTubers and just tried to look at like if I was the next like tier up, right? Like right now I have like 30,000 subscribers. So I look at like someone with 100,000 subscribers, how do they operate, right? And I try to operate in that way. Um, I think that's like a big thing. I think another thing is always actively trying to improve your content. People very much will care about the person who is the best solution to a real problem, and they won't care at all if you're the second best. And so I
Yeah.
always tried to be the absolute best at what I did. I don't think I've always achieved that, but I've always tried to, and I've always tried to get better so that I can get closer to that. So like continuously trying to improve is a huge deal. Consistency also, I think, just doing doing what I've been doing. I haven't really taken any time off, with the exception of like a week or two for vacations. And yeah, I think those are some of the bigger factors. I also think I tried to play really hard into what my strengths were. Like I looked at like me as a person. It's like I'm not going to be a Haboo, right? Like I haven't played Stardew for 4,000 hours, so I don't want to frame myself as someone who's like the best at a game, right? I played Halo competitively, and I think I could be the best at a game, but it's like I think I would want to do, like I'm a pretty creative person, and so it's like I'm going to try to tackle like really creative challenges and just do that really, really well.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, well, since we're coming up on our time limit, here's my last question. Do you have any advice for new content creators?
Yeah, I think my best advice is pretty much what I just said in the like what what are some of my secrets, I guess, to how I've grown somewhat rapidly is always try to improve. If that's the number one thing, because no matter what, that will never steer you wrong. If you are always trying to get better and recognizing that there is never going to be a point where you get to and you're like, okay, awesome, I'm good enough. It's always trying to get better. That will help. Uh, and you'll learn as you do it more and more what the good ways are to learn, I guess, if that makes sense. Like you'll learn how to learn as you do it and you'll get better with that. But it all comes from a desire to create the absolute best stuff that you can. And then, the support follows from there. That's my
Yeah.
advice.
Yeah, the biggest YouTubers slash Twitch streamers slash also YouTube streamers, they're always trying to better themselves.
Hmm.
I think that's pretty cool. Well, we're coming up like at the end of our time. I want to thank you and say what an honor it is for you to be on this podcast here with me.
Thank you, man. I don't know about all that being an honor and everything. I'm just some random guy that makes videos, but I appreciate that.
Well, yeah. Make sure you check out for the next episode of Pod Atlas Talks streaming sometime next week, I guess.